The fog is lifting. Clarity is calling you forward. Welcome to Forward in Freedom. I'm Tanya Johnson. This is where awareness becomes power. Let's move forward in freedom.
Well, today, the secret is finally out. If you guessed Tanzania, Africa, you guessed correctly. And if you guessed Mount Kilimanjaro, you definitely guessed correctly. Today, I'm speaking to you from Tanzania, Africa, after successfully reaching the summit of Mount Kilimanjaro. Now, I have to tell you something. The biggest lesson that I learned wasn't standing at the top. It wasn't just taking pictures. It wasn't celebrating the accomplishment. The biggest lessons happened during the climb because somewhere between the first step and the summit, the mountain started teaching me things about life, freedom, faith, and perseverance that I'll carry with me long after I leave Tanzania. And today, I want to share a few of these lessons with you. Most people see the summit, the picture, the accomplishment, the celebration. What they don't see is every step that made the summit possible. And honestly, life works exactly the same way. One of the moments that stands out most from the climb happened when I stopped for a moment and looked behind me. Up to that point, I had been focused on how far I still had to go, how much mountain remained, how much effort remained, how much climbing remained. But when I looked back, I realized how far I had already come. And I think a lot of people need that reminder. Sometimes we become so focused on what's left to accomplish that we forget to acknowledge the progress that we've already made. There are still miles ahead of me. There are still challenges ahead of me. But there also were so many miles behind me, steps behind me, growth behind me, progress behind me. And that's true in life. Sometimes healing feels slow because we're measuring ourselves against where we want to be instead of appreciating how far we've already come. Don't become so focused on what's ahead that you forget how far you've already come. There was one phrase that I heard repeatedly throughout the climb. In Swahili, pole pole, which means slowly, slowly. At first, it sounds simple, but the deeper I got into the climb, the more powerful that lesson became. Because everything in our culture tells us to move faster, achieve faster, heal faster, grow faster, produce faster. But the mountain teaches something different. The mountain doesn't reward speed. The mountain rewards sustainability. If you move too fast, you may not make it. And really, life teaches the same lesson. Some people are trying to rush their healing, rush growth, rush success, rush freedom. When sometimes the wisest thing that you can do is keep moving at a pace that allows you to finish the journey. The goal isn't to move the fastest, the goal is to keep moving. The climb is physical, let me tell you, but it's also mental. There were moments when I was tired. There were moments when the body felt the effects of altitude, moments when the journey felt long. And I realized something. Your mindset becomes incredibly important. when the challenge becomes difficult. Because the mountain doesn't just test your legs, it tests your thinking. And life does the same thing. When circumstances become difficult, what we believe starts to matter. What we tell ourselves starts to matter. What we focus on starts to matter. Because your mind can either become your greatest ally or your greatest obstacle. A positive mindset won't remove every challenge, but it can help carry you through each and every one of them. Another thing this mountain reinforced for me is that significant journeys rarely happen alone. I had a guide, I had a team, support, encouragement, lots of encouragement. People helping to make the journey possible. And I'm grateful for each and every one of them because there were moments when their experience helped me, moments when their encouragement helped me, moments when their presence mattered. And that sounds familiar in life, which teaches us the same lesson. We were never designed to carry every mountain alone. The right people matter. The right support matters. The right community matters. The right voices matter. The right people won't climb the mountain for you, but they can certainly help you reach the summit. God's grace carried me. This may be one of the most important lessons of all, because while preparation mattered, training mattered, the team mattered, the mindset mattered, there was something else that carried me: God's grace. During a moment of reflection as I climbed, I realized something. Months earlier, the mountain existed only in my mind. It was an idea, a dream, a possibility, something I hoped that I would accomplish. And now I was standing in the middle of it, not because every step was easy, not because every day was perfect, but because I kept moving forward. And honestly, I think that's true for many of us. The things that God places in our hearts, sometimes the very things that we think are impossible, are simply waiting for our first step. There were moments when I felt strong, and there were moments when I felt weak, moments when I felt confident, and moments when I simply had to trust. But throughout the entire journey, God's grace covered me, God's grace sustained me, God's grace carried me. Standing on the summit, I wasn't overwhelmed by what I had accomplished. I was overwhelmed by the faithfulness of God because there are moments in life when God allows you to stand in places you once only imagined, not so you can celebrate yourself, but so that you can remember what He helped you to overcome. The summit reminded me how faithful God had been every step of the journey. For months, the summit was the goal, the destination, the accomplishment, the finish line. But once I got there, I realized the summit wasn't the end. It was simply part of the journey. And what surprised me most was that the summit wasn't where I spent the most time. We work so hard to reach these defining moments, Yet most of life isn't lived at the summit. Most of life is lived in the climb, in the preparation, in the growth, in the daily choices nobody sees. And maybe that's why the journey mattered so much. People often tell themselves that I'll be happy when I'll have peace, when I'll finally feel successful, when. And then they arrive, only to discover that life continues, growth continues, purpose continues, freedom continues. Because freedom isn't the destination, it's a way of life. It's truly a way of living. And here's what I hope you'll carry with you this week. What mountain are you facing right now? A personal mountain, a professional mountain, a relational mountain, a healing mountain? And what is your next step? Not next month, not next year, not someday, today. Because mountains are climbed one step at a time, and freedom is built the same way. The next step matters more than you think. I love to hear from you. What's a mountain that you've already climbed in your life? What challenge once felt impossible, but you made it through? And what did that journey teach you? Share in the comments because I would love to hear your story. If these conversations are helping you move forward in freedom, be sure to subscribe, like, and share the podcast. And if you're navigating your own mountain right now, I'd love to hear and have you connect with me through a complimentary discovery call. You can visit at www.cleardirectioncoaching.com. Before coming to Tanzania, I thought the biggest lesson from the mountain would be perseverance. It wasn't. There was one lesson that I kept hearing over and over throughout the climb. A lesson that challenged the way I think about growth, healing, success, and freedom. And honestly, it may be one of the most important lessons that I've learned in years. And I can't wait to share it with you. I'm Tanya J from location in Tanzania, Africa. Thank you for being part of this journey. Until we meet again, move forward in freedom.